Welcome back to the MetaMinds podcast, where we help you master your mindset. My name is Eamon, and I am a video marketer.
And my name's Dan, and I'm a fully qualified counselor.
And today we are talking about the toxic side of self-development. That's right, it's not all daisies and sunshine. It can be if you want it to be.
Yes.
But, with maybe like 5 to 7 years of kind of mucking around and playing in the self-development space, would you say, we've definitely seen a lot of negatives to do with self-development, and if you're not careful, you can easily get sucked into the negative side of it, and it can be worse for you than better for you. And we don't want that. The reason we want to better ourselves is so that we can get better, not get worse. Unfortunately, there's a lot of roadblocks in the way that can make it a little bit harder to become the best version of yourself, I suppose, and master your mindset.
Yep.
So we're going to go over those and some practical tips for how we kind of overcome these roadblocks.
Yes. And I think it's really important to also mention that, really anything that you dive into in your life, there will always be a negative and a positive, the yin-yang. So, self-development as a whole is meant to be a positive space, but you're also very vulnerable in that space. And that's where, potentially marketers or self-development gurus can kind of sink their claws in. So I guess what we're trying to say is just that you need to have a bit of self-awareness around what you're consuming, the courses you're buying, the books. We'll get into that a little later on. But like we said, there are a lot of positives to self-development as well. So should we start with maybe some things that are a bit positive to be mindful of instead of diving straight into kind of the negative side of it?
That sounds good. Let's do it.
Cool. So I think one thing that I've noticed, especially being very time poor, is being aware of the gurus or the people that I let into my consciousness. So I guess for me, there's a few people that I will align with, and I try not to constantly search for other people. I'm not constantly trying to consume, because otherwise then, I'm just going to have so much coming in through the funnel. So for me, it's I try to be a little bit more selective with what I am consuming. And then just being aware of at the end of the day, a lot of these people you are listening to, they're running a business. So they're going to want to sell something too.
All right, let's slow down. You're giving away all the secret sauce. Okay.
Yes.
This is more for the end of the podcast. And if you've heard that, just forget about that.
Just
we're gonna give a little bit more context and then dive into it. Mm-hmm. Sorry to cut you off there, bud.
That's okay.
So basically the reason we're doing this particular podcast is because we've seen a couple of messages out there on social media that have become very, very popular about people bashing the self-development world. And I suppose that's a very negative thing to do. And that in itself is quite a dramatized, they're trying to get views themselves in bashing the whole self-development space.
Yes.
And, it's kind of really sad, because it's when you break it down, you take a huge step back, it's people just want to be better, And it's whether you call it self-development or self-help or whatever it is, it's you consume media from people that have had particular life experience so that you can live a better life. Is that the most broken down version that we can kind of, and it's you try and take different actions to lead to a better life. That's really all self-development is. And I just personally, I've seen a lot of people, bashing that whole space. And it's if you're into self-development, it's cancerous because of this. And this is partly what you were kind of talking about there is there's a lot of people, and look, I don't want to say guilty, but we run media and we put media out there as well, which has the potential to influence somebody's mindset and change the way they think about themselves, which is all media, really.
Yeah.
But seeing a lot of negativity around the fact that people are into self-development, and I guess I just want to we should reframe that in this podcast, that it is a positive thing, and there is just a lot of negative things out there that will stop you from achieving that positive result. So I think we jump into what some of those negative things are, and then how we combat them.
Okay.
So what are some of those negative things?
So the negative things would be...
You kind of alluded to it before.
Yeah, at the end of the day, most of the time, some of these bigger influencers or self-development gurus will have some sort of funnel, whether that's a course or a book or whatever that may be. So
I hate that word, guru.
Yeah.
Well. It's kind of I don't know, it's people here we are talking about the negative things about the toxic things about self-development now.
But it's a powerful word. You got to think about the connotations of that word.
But people use it in a derogatory way. It's oh, you're a guru. It's it's do you have to call everybody a guru? It's they're a person that puts out content. I just think that's almost part of the toxic side of, it's people are putting messages out there and immediately someone labels it as guru. And it's they may be selling an online course, but if you look at the reason they're doing that is like they may have very genuine intentions, and then all of a sudden you've just defamed everything they're trying to do because you call them a guru.
Yeah.
I just don't like that terminology. But that's probably because I'm a guru. No.
Well, that's probably it. That's probably it. Yeah. But yeah, I don't know. Like it's just again being aware, right, of these things. So a lot of these people are trying to sell you something, and like you said, like for the most part, you would hope that the people in this space are trying to help people. And when you look at a lot of the courses out there, like even if they're not up to scratch or we think that they could be improved, for the most part, you'd hope that these people are trying to help other people, or it's helped them, so they're hoping that other people will resonate. So you'd hope with really anything. I think most people have got good intentions, but it's just being aware that like this is still marketing and this is still potentially a business.
Yeah.
So if someone tells you to buy this and it'll be that one size fits all, it'll be that ultimate fix, you need to be aware that it's probably not going to be that ultimate fix. It's going to actually take years of you working through it.
Yeah.
And these can be the little tools, the little like cherry on top. But you listening to a course is probably not going to get you to that ideal point in your life.
Unless you're willing to put in the work for that course.
For sure.
And it's so interesting because like, part of the thing that got me into self-development was Tony Robbins, obviously, listening to Awaken the Giant with him when I was like 16 or 17, it kind of hit me in the face like, oh, life could actually be more than what I've experienced so far, opened my kind of awareness to it all. And back then there was only a few like gurus as such, and it was like him. I don't even know who else basically, but podcasting wasn't a thing. You'd find the odd audiobook here, but that was like mostly on a CD that was like ripped from somewhere and you couldn't even find them, so like they weren't even very popular, but it just so happens that now everything's so accessible with the internet. For example, we make our own podcast, put it on the internet, that everyone has more of an opinion and they can share their life experience, and that's fantastic. But I think part of where this like guru word kind of came from is that it's like, because it's so accessible now, it's kind of like taken away from the fact that there is, because like there was the OGs like Tony Robbins and people that were into that really motivational speech. But then you see an ad on Instagram or something pop up and all of a sudden it's another person doing that, and it makes you go, oh my God, it's just another guy doing this thing. They could have like more life experience than Tony Robbins. We don't even know.
For sure.
But we just have this perception because we're more bombarded with it because it's more common, I suppose.
For sure. And I think also another important thing to recognize is like when you think about self-development, you mentioned Tony Robbins and you even said like, I don't know anyone else around that time that started. So it's almost like Tony Robbins started and he's almost synonymous with self-development. So when you think about self-development, you probably think about Tony Robbins. Like he's one of the first people you think of. So in turn, like it's just natural for humans to compare everything to that one thing.
Yeah.
So you could even go, oh, they're just trying to be Tony Robbins, or they're just trying to be MetaMinds.
Exactly. And that's just your brain.
That's just your brain. But the reality is, like we keep saying, it's all about researching the person. If you're listening to someone and they really resonate with you, then at that point, MetaMinds, exactly. Then it's like, that could be a good point where you feel right to maybe purchase something from them.
We don't have any products.
We don't have anything yet. Yeah.
You
We are Audible affiliates, so link in the description. But yeah, so it's, I guess, just again, self-awareness and recognizing, just because this person may have only just started a personal development podcast for like 6 months, and you may go, oh, well, they're probably not experienced or whatever, and they may get a bit of flack. But if you resonate with that person, that's more important. Like it's all about that internal feeling of what you get out of an episode with them to maybe make your decision, I guess is what I'm trying to get at, instead of just clicking on everything and buying everything.
Yeah.
To think that, well, if I have all these tools, then I'll just be better miraculously.
Pretty much.
But like you said, it's a lot of work internally. And I guess these tools are okay. But for the most part, like I know a lot of my journey, this was before audiobooks and before courses and everything. I had to do all of that work on my own in isolation almost.
Just like you've been meditating on the top of a mountain as a monk for like many years. Right?
Yeah.
That's how you got into this?
Yeah, there's a mountain just down the road, actually. Yeah.
Yeah, nice.
You should check it out, dude.
Yeah, I will. That's where I met you, isn't it?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
So to reframe this a little bit,
yeah.
If you're into bettering yourself, like let's take even that word away, self-development. If you're into bettering yourself, which if you're alive, chances are you are, because you want to survive and thrive. Like that's how life works. Where was I going with that? So chances are you're into bettering yourself. So chances are you're looking for different ways to better yourself, which then we put that label self-development on. It's like, oh, well, I want to optimize and get better at everything that I'm doing, which is awesome. Just so happens there's so many more paths to get information to better yourself, which again, if you perceive it in a positive way, that's a really awesome thing. But the caveat, which I don't really like that word, but let's go ahead and use it, is that you get a dopamine hit from doing something that makes you get better. So you listen to a podcast, you complete that podcast, tick it off your list. You've listened to a self-development podcast, you gain some insight. You've just got a dopamine hit. So you're looking for that next dopamine hit to, so you can get into this like almost toxic cycle of constantly consuming content and, buying a course, and then you complete that course because it has a little ding at the end of each, module or whatever.
You get a certificate that's sent through or
That's
whatever.
it. You're certified or whatever, which again is great. And this is all marketing, and that's something to be really aware of because they appeal to your aspirational identity. They're like, get the life that you want, and that's marketing, and it works. That's why they do that thing. But it can be so easy to get caught in this loop of consuming, never actually taking action. But you think that you're taking action to better yourself, but you're actually just consuming content.
Yeah.
And the reason I'm saying this is because I've been in that trap so many times, and I still find myself in that trap sometimes. I'm like, I did so many podcasts and I finished an audiobook this week. It's like, okay, amen. But what actions have you taken?
And what did you get out of those as well?
That's it. That was the other thing.
That's
it's
what you said before the podcast.
Yeah, it's like you can consume an audiobook on 3 times speed, and then the second you finish it, start the next audiobook and not even actually take some time to be like, what was that book about?
Yeah.
Did I enjoy that book? Like, how is that related to my life? Like, actually think about that book. And again, I'm not telling anyone how to live their life. This is how I do it sometimes, and I'm definitely guilty of it. And this is the toxic side of self-development, is that you can get caught in this loop, but never actually spend any time doing this self-awareness work, trying to actually better yourself with action rather than consumption disguised as action.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
But because it's so accessible and there's so many different forms of information, it's easier than ever to get caught in that loop, And again, that makes it easier than ever for somebody to pop up on your Instagram feed, and then you watch a bit of the ad, they retarget you in the next ad, and all of a sudden you paid $2,000 for that course as a life coach or whatever. I haven't actually bought a self-development course because there's just so many free resources. But, So I've had to go through and like cull a lot of my podcasts and people that I listen to, because I only have so much time to actually consume. And if the more podcasts I have, then the more time I'm going to be spending listening, the less time I'm actually going to be bettering myself,
Yeah.
And so when like 10 download, I'll like delete 5 away because I just actually have to vet it for my time,
Yeah, for sure. And I think another thing to be aware of as well is it's definitely like more and more apparent to me, especially being in this space, is that a lot of the content that you will be consuming is most likely recycled, or it's stuff that you've heard somewhere else and it's slightly got a different spin on it. So like that over time, if you keep consuming that, potentially that could click with you. But at the end of the day, like you said, if you're just consuming things passively and not doing the work, then what kind of actions or what kind of meaning are you assigning to these actions that you would like to take to become this ideal self? And most likely, it is caught up in that dopamine hit of getting a course, saying, well, I listened to a course the other day, that's my personal development. But then I'm sure, as you've experienced this as well, when you listen to like a book after a book after a book, it starts kind of blurring and you forget where you heard that information from.
Straight up,
because you haven't actually done the work after, which I'm so guilty of. Like you listen to a book, you're like, that was amazing. And I put it in my favorite list. I'm like, I'll listen to that again.
Yeah, for sure.
But it's like, but I haven't done the work after to sit down and go, what were my key learnings? What were the key takeaways?
Yeah, like
what
study.
Are the things? Yeah.
Like revision.
Actual revision, yeah. And that's something that we probably both could do a lot more of.
Yeah.
So for people out there, you should maybe start on that before, because then you'll be ahead of us on that.
Pretty much,
step.
yeah.
And that's something we really should do.
10 years into our self-development podcast, like everyone just gets way ahead of us.
Yeah.
Oh dear.
Just they create better minds.
Pretty
That's
much. Oh dear. Or would it be better binds? Because it's got to be 2 B's. Who knows?
True.
If you start a podcast and you
yeah.
take us down, I look forward to listening to that podcast.
Yeah, I applaud you.
Crush it.
Good job, guys.
Pre-applause.
Pre-applause.
So to dive deeper into the kind of marketing aspect of it, it's like, again, there's so many messages everywhere and you perceive everyone as like a guru. And it's like, realistically, if you're running a business in this day and age and you recognize what's actually happening in the digital world, chances are you're going to be creating video content, because that's clearly how to run a successful business. You can increase that know, like, and trust and actually get people to connect with you, share an experience with them, rather than just putting up text or posts or Monday morning coffee. Can you tell I hate that about marketing?
Yeah.
So, there is, like, in marketing, it's like, as I mentioned, it's like they appeal to your aspirational identity. But the thing is, like, part of the toxic side of it is that, even business leaders that are like, he's an accountant and he's a business leader and accountant, he might even be putting some, like, remember, like, be good and enjoy life and do good things or whatever, like putting some motivational messages into his but he's an accountant.
Yeah, don't forget to do your taxes.
But that's it, pretty much. But it's like, and so some of his content is that, some of his content is this, and it's like, there's nothing bad about that. It's potentially his life experience or regurgitated, information that potentially he's heard. But either way, he's trying to do it to help build his business up. And then it turns out there's like millions or billions of people doing that now. That it's like pretty much everyone I come across on Instagram when I'm engaging with different people that have their own messages and they're putting their own different things out into the world. What I'm saying is that it's overwhelming how much information is out there, which again makes it so easy to get caught into that trap. The other thing is like all the marketing messages, like there potentially is some people that have very, maybe not toxic, but people that are selling courses with the intention of just getting cash and bouncing out and not actually providing the value. Possibly more on the business side than self-development, you would hope. But yeah, a lot of them are going to say whatever they can to get you to purchase their course, and they frame it as this like life-changing thing.
Yes.
And we can't blame them for that, because this is how marketing works.
Unless
if
they're
you're
malicious.
like, hey, it's a pretty good thing, I guess. You can check it out if you want. It is $5,000 though. Would you buy that? Nah, no way.
Exactly. Yeah.
So again, it's like it's literally every episode. Our theme is almost self-awareness. That it's like,
it is.
When you see these messages and they're bombarding you, you kind of have to see it for what it is.
Yeah.
And that's not saying see it for this horrible guru guy trying to steal your money, but it's like this is a person just trying to make their way in life. Maybe they're putting out positive messages. And then the other question you can ask yourself is like, do you actually have time? Like even if you're like, I really resonate with that one piece of content. You go and follow that person on 15 different social media platforms. Do you actually have time to be consuming more content? Like I regularly vet people I'm following on Instagram and stuff because it's like, is that content actually providing value to my life?
Yeah.
It's like, you have, you're posting booty pics. That's great. Okay. Yes, that's providing value. I'll follow you. No.
Yeah, that's it, man. And like the thing that really stood out to me as you were saying that is just the idea of truth seeking again, which is one of the episodes that we've released. And it kind of it boils down to that point that, try to, like you said, just be aware of things. Don't think that every person has got their best intentions at heart or that they've got the worst intentions at heart. It's their truth at the end of the day. Like they're doing that for whatever reason. But I guess if you're going to decide on buying a course from someone, it comes down to doing the research, like looking at their body of work, seeing what they're actually talking about, if that resonates with you. And then also like there is definitely content out there that is just plain wrong. People are putting out false information, which happens in every industry, but it's just being aware of that. So if you listen to something from a guru or from a helper or a self-development person, it is also important to also like research the counter of that, because just because they've said that with so much like truth in their eyes and then you resonate with that, I need an example to kind of make more sense. But I guess it's just being aware of also what you're consuming and what you're actioning. Because if, like we try to really frame it as like, on the MetaMinds podcast, we can help you master your mindset while we master ours. Like it's this whole journey and we'll never get there potentially. We're just always on this journey to better ourselves, which is an interesting concept because I guess these gurus are trying to sell this identity that you will get to that ideal self. And like I believe we're both under that kind of belief that you can get better, but this idea of perfection or this idea of this perfect mountain peak that you're getting to is probably unrealistic.
The journey, man, not
but it is, for sure.
Bro.
And it's so cliche, but it's so true.
Yeah,
the people that are selling that of like, you will be the better version of yourself. You will be the best version. It's like, sure, but they're just using that as a marketing jargon to try to get you involved in their course, which could help you, sure. But then after that dies off and after you go back to your usual routine and your life hasn't been transformed in a major way, then it's like that's potentially where the toxic element comes in. So just like you said, vetting your content, truth seeking what else is out there and seeing the counter argument to make sure that maybe you might resonate with the counter argument more, or maybe you'll see more truth in that counter argument. So it's really, again, just researching and being aware.
Well, like, but the thing with that is like, it's if only there was like an IMDb for like online courses, like there is things like good. Udemy and stuff.
Yeah.
But people don't necessarily buy those courses. Like they'll happily spend $2,000 on a course as opposed to 20 because it has that legitimacy element to it because of the price. Like, but it's like, there's not really a place that you can go to kind of vet, because I've bought an online course, or I bought several online courses, and one of them that I had purchased, yes, I got value out of it and it helped me progress my business or whatever. But I realized kind of 6-8 months down the track that I was like, that's not actually the best messages that they could be putting out there. And if I was potentially in another course or another group, maybe I could have got like shortcut or gone to that. That's a very dangerous word, shortcut or hack.
Or hack, yeah.
I could have gotten to the position that I was trying to get to much quicker than if I had received those messages. Like they helped, but they maybe weren't the right messages at the time.
Yeah.
And the value that they promised like wasn't fully there, but I didn't even know because I was wrapped up in this excitement of, I bought this thing, I'm in this group and I'm it's part of my identity now. And these guys are my mentors and whatever. And it's like, it's all great. But so look, I don't want to say I'm a victim, but it's like, I've been in that situation myself as well, where you purchase something and I'm like, there's no way this was worth $2,000 or whatever I paid for it, you know? So that's interesting. And
it is
going somewhere else. Oh yeah. So the other thing is, I think the stat is like 80% of people do not finish online courses. Pretty sure that's the stat. And so it's like, if that is the stat, then chances are, if you're into self-development and you are buying courses, the chances are that you are one of those people that gets caught in this dopamine loop of achieving things.
I'll buy the next book, I'll buy that, and it just sits there unfinished. It's interesting because you mentioned like Udemy or other platforms or dashboards where you can actually see some legitimate ratings. And my mind immediately went to, I believe it was Gary Vee, but also Pat Flynn mentioned it as well. So when you're actually deciding on a book, for example, an audiobook, you don't look at the 5-star ratings because there'll be the super fans that are like, I love this is amazing. Don't look at the 1-star ratings because they're going to be like, this is trash, toxic, boycott it, #boycott it, you know? But the 2, 3, and 4-star ratings, they're going to be the most honest, authentic ratings. Nice. So you read those to vet out any of the bullcrap, because 2 extremes, one's I love you and one's I really hate you for whatever reason. And those middle bulk will give you the most honest response.
That's great. I like that.
Yeah. So that's what I try to do. I normally just take your recommendations on a book.
Yeah.
But if I don't have any,
because
I
I'm so forceful, I'm like, you have to listen to this book.
I'm like, okay, what's the 2-star rating? You're like, don't.
No. So for those listening, I just did this just before the podcast, but it was for Viktor Frankl's Man's Search for Meaning. And if you haven't listened to anything, drop all of your self-development stuff and only listen to that book, okay? Yeah. But yes, look, I might be forceful, but it's for your own good, okay?
Thank you. I appreciate it.
So any other toxic elements to self-development?
Yes, probably.
Well, one more that comes to mind, which was, again, partly why we're doing this podcast, is the people out there that are bashing, and I don't want to call out anyone in particular, I would like to, you know, and because there's nothing wrong with the content they're making as well. They're just making content and framing it in a dramatized kind of way to kind of, you know, it's almost like the news, really, what's that word, is, I don't know, basically
preying on people's insecurities.
Well, yeah, but there's like, it's sensationalized. That's
where
they're like, somebody was down at the shop today, and you're like, whoa, you know, and you're like, oh my god, that's crazy, but it's not really. Yeah. So it's just about the way they frame it. Yeah. And so like, again, he's in like, okay, now I'm not going to call this person out, but there's people out there that are doing this thing, and they just frame it as like everything about it is cancerous, and you're going to die if you try and better yourself, and it's just not that way at all.
No, and that's how they're pushing their agenda and getting the views.
That's it, and they're just doing their own thing, trying to get views and stuff, and that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that, but there could be more positive messages out there about it. That look, there is a toxic side to this. Not everything is daisies and sunshine or whatever I said.
I think you said that. There. Yeah. Solid, like reframe back at the end.
I just picture myself like you know,
just frolicking through
the flowers and like everything's slow motion
in that show.
And my sundress is just flopping around. Yeah,
that is a sundress. I was wondering.
Basically, it goes down forever for those that can see on YouTube.
We'll post a photo with our morning coffee, you know, Monday morning coffee with you and your sundress.
Crush today, be a lion.
Yeah.
Anyway, it's gotten out of hand.
It has. So what about some kind of actionable content for people or things that maybe have stood out to us?
I think we've gone through a lot of it, honestly. It's like recognizing that there is a toxic side to it, recognizing the potential habits you can get into if you are trying to better yourself, and recognizing that it's like, you know, cull the content, like really choose the content that and the messages that are going into your brain, because even though you think that, oh yeah, I'm just like watching a podcast and then I forget about it forever, like you spent time and that information was put into your brain. So, you know, there's a lot of content. Again, I'm only saying this because I'm very guilty of it. I listen to like 3 podcasts in a day sometimes. And it's like, what did I get out of any of them? You know, so it's like actually culling that content, making sure you're only consuming things that really, really matter. Vet the content that you consume, even if it's on Instagram, if it's on Reddit, like wherever it is, especially the content that's claiming to make your life better, because that's, you know, there is a potential toxic side to it. We don't know what their motivations are as well. And yeah, like I suppose the other thing is like, you know, we're trying to better ourselves, we're trying to have a better life, but it's like, have fun. Like, let's have fun here, because it's like, guys, we want to have a better life, but it's like, I don't know where that's even
But
coming
like
from.
the most
But it's
important
like,
work you can do is on yourself, you know?
Exactly.
So like have fun while you're doing it, basically.
Yeah, 'cause
don't
it's
be
like-
so strict about it.
And as I said, it is the journey. It's like, it's not like, oh my God, I got to crush and ignore all my friends and, kill this dog. I don't know why I said that. So I can get to this destination. It's like, man, I'm just vibing right now.
Yeah.
And do the best that I can, like right now. You know what I
Exactly,
mean?
yeah.
And if that means, being aware of the content that you consume and the fact that you can get caught in a loop and where you're not actually bettering yourself.
Yeah, yeah. One thing that also really stands out to me is just the word self or personal. So you've got self-development and personal development. That implies that it's all you doing the work, which, as we've alluded to, there's a lot of work you do on your own. But one thing that I think a lot of self-development people really neglect is the fact that we're all part of a system, whether that's a family system, your community, your workplace. We're all part of systems. Like we're all these little nodes that are connected to other nodes. So I guess it's also really important to, if you can, try to align with other people, whether there's so many community groups out there on Facebook, and there's even
find your
Instagram.
tribe.
Yeah, find your tribe. Find people who can help you as well, because it can be overwhelming trying to do it just on your own. And the idea that it's self and personal development is the idea that no one else can help you. You have to do this on your own, which for the most part is true because you're the person who knows yourself better than anyone. But also if you can resonate with some other people and try to grow together, that can be really important. And I guess we've spoken about it so many times, but you and I have these conversations and then we go to our usual life and then we reflect on it and put our own meaning to it. But there are a lot of conversations you and I have that are really important in our self-development journeys, but they're done with someone else. So I guess, like you said, find your tribe, maybe try to connect with other people if you can in your community or your online space to help you grow as well. I think that's really important.
Yeah, the connection element is huge for sure.
Yeah.
And just on that, about finding a tribe, if you've gotten to this part of the podcast, you have found your tribe. Delete every other podcast there is because this is it, boys.
Yep.
This is the pinnacle of self-development.
Yep.
If you haven't noticed already. So just
That's
download
it.
the rest of our episodes,
Yep.
consume all of those, send us money on my OnlyFans, okay? And it's all
It's all
growth from here.
That's exactly right.
This is the life of your dreams,
Yeah,
okay?
that's it.
So buy our $3,000 course. You
Yeah.
hear me?
And become a meta mind.
Yes. Okay, we'll wrap it up there. I
Yeah.
think we covered off, and that was a pretty good episode. Thanks for listening, guys. Thanks for getting meta with us. See you in the next episode.
See you in the next one.